All right, so today we're going deep on something I bet you're pretty familiar with. Coffee.
That's right.
I mean, you know how good it is for that morning energy boost. But did you know that your daily cup could be doing so much more? Like way beyond just fighting that morning grogginess. We're going to uncover some surprising benefits of coffee.
Yeah, a lot more to coffee than meets the eye.
So we're basing this deep dive on this YouTube video. It's called English Podcast, The Amazing Benefits of Drinking Coffee, Learn English Podcast.
Okay.
It's from the Simple English Podcast channel. Now, don't worry, we're not going to give you an English lesson or anything.
Right.
But the video actually features a nutrition expert who breaks down the science of coffee.
Oh, cool.
Okay, so first up, let's talk about antioxidants. I was surprised to learn how many antioxidants are packed into a single cup of coffee.
Yeah, coffee is loaded with antioxidants. They're like little bodyguards for your cells. They protect your cells from damage caused by harmful molecules called free radicals.
Radicals.
Yeah, think of free radicals as like unstable molecules that can damage your cells, like rust damaging a car.
Huh.
And the cool thing is that for people who maybe aren't big fans of fruits and vegetables, which are typically high in antioxidants, coffee can be a major source of these protective compounds.
Oh, so even if you're not a salad person, your daily coffee could be giving you a good dose of antioxidants.
Exactly.
That's a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
So what else is coffee doing for us, like on a cellular level?
Well, one of the areas where coffee really shines is like in its effects on brain function. We all know that feeling of alertness and focus after a cup of coffee.
Oh, absolutely. I don't know how I would have survived college without those late night coffee-fueled study sessions.
Yeah, those were the days. But beyond just, anecdotal evidence, there's actual science behind coffee's brain-boosting powers. Caffeine, the key ingredient in coffee, is well known for enhancing alertness, improving focus, and even elevating mood. There's even research suggesting a link between coffee consumption and a lower risk of depression.
Wow, coffee is a mood booster. That's pretty amazing.
It's definitely an area of ongoing research,
Okay,
but the initial findings are pretty promising.
interesting. So it sounds like the benefits go even further than just our brains, right?
Yeah, for sure. Coffee also has some impressive physical health perks. For example, did you know that coffee consumption has been linked to a lower risk of developing type 2 diabetes?
Really? I had no idea. That's a pretty serious condition. So to hear that coffee might help protect against it, that's incredible. Can you explain how that works?
Yeah, so it's fascinating. Coffee seems to help the body use insulin more effectively. You see, insulin is like a key that unlocks your cells to let sugar in for energy.
Okay.
Coffee appears to make this process more efficient, keeping your blood sugar levels more stable.
Hmm.
And considering how widespread diabetes is globally, this benefit alone makes coffee stand out as a potentially powerful drink.
Wow. That really makes you look at your coffee break in a whole new light.
Mhm.
Are there any other physical health benefits we should know about?
Oh, definitely. Another surprising benefit is its impact on liver health. Studies have shown that regular coffee consumption is linked to a lower risk of liver diseases,
Like what?
including cirrhosis and liver cancer.
Wow, I did not know that. Coffee protecting our livers. That's really interesting.
Yeah, it seems that coffee contains compounds that can help protect the liver from damage. And it's not just a small effect either.
Really?
The research suggests a substantial reduction in risk for those who drink coffee regularly.
So coffee is good for our brains, our blood sugar, and our livers.
Hmm.
What's not to love?
Right.
But before we get too carried away, I think it's important to talk about moderation.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Even with all these great benefits, I'm sure there's a limit to how much coffee is good for us.
Right. Absolutely. Like most things in life, balance is key. While moderate coffee consumption can be beneficial, going overboard can lead to some unwanted side effects.
Okay, so we've heard about all these amazing benefits of coffee, but how do we actually put this knowledge into practice? How can we make sure we're getting the most out of our coffee habit, in a healthy and enjoyable way?
That's a great question. I mean, it's one thing to know about the benefits, but it's another to actually incorporate them into our daily routines. I think a good place to start is by thinking about the kind of coffee we're choosing.
Right, that makes sense. Does it matter if we're brewing at home or grabbing a cup from a coffee shop?
Yeah, it can actually make a difference. If you're brewing at home, I'd always recommend opting for whole beans whenever possible and grinding them fresh right before you brew. It really does make a difference in terms of flavor and aroma.
Yeah, I've definitely noticed that freshly ground coffee just tastes so much better.
Mhm.
What about different brewing methods? I know there are tons of options out there these days.
Yeah, it's a whole world of coffee brewing out there, like from classic drip coffee makers to French presses, pour-over devices, and even like fancy espresso machines. There's a method for everyone. I encourage you to experiment and find what suits your taste and lifestyle best.
Okay, so we've covered the beans and the brewing, but what about all those tempting extras? The sugary syrups, whipped cream, all that good stuff.
Right.
How do we navigate those temptations and still keep our coffee healthy?
Ah, yes, the siren song of coffee shop extras. They definitely can be hard to resist. But you're right, those additions can quickly turn a healthy cup of coffee into, like, a calorie bomb.
So what are some good alternatives? Like what can we use to sweeten our coffee or add flavor without going overboard on sugar and fat?
Well, if you're watching your sugar intake, try opting for, unsweetened almond milk or a dash of cinnamon instead of those flavored syrups. And if you really need a touch of sweetness, consider using a natural sweetener like stevia or honey, but just a little bit goes a long way.
Those are good tips.
Yeah.
What about for people who are like sensitive to caffeine? I know some people can't handle too much coffee without feeling jittery or having trouble sleeping. Any advice for finding that balance?
Definitely. I mean, it's all about listening to your body and figuring out what works best for you. If you're sensitive to caffeine, you might want to consider switching to decaf coffee.
Decaf.
Yeah. It allows you to still enjoy the ritual and flavor of coffee without the caffeine kick.
I love decaf coffee.
Yeah.
It's a game changer for those evenings when I want to relax with a warm beverage but don't want to mess with my sleep.
Exactly. And another important thing to remember is that staying hydrated is crucial, especially when you're consuming caffeine. Make sure to drink plenty of water throughout the day to help balance out the effects of caffeine.
Okay, so we've talked about choosing the right coffee, brewing it properly, and even managing our caffeine intake. But I want to shift gears a bit and talk about the bigger picture. How can coffee enhance our overall well-being beyond just the physical benefits?
That's a great point. Coffee is more than just a drink. It's a social ritual, a conversation starter, and a moment of pause in our busy lives.
Yeah, you're right. It's like a built-in excuse to connect with others, whether it's grabbing coffee with a friend, having a business meeting, or even just enjoying a quiet moment of reflection with a cup in hand. Coffee often plays a central role.
Exactly. And those social connections are so vital for our overall well-being. They reduce stress, boost mood, and help us feel more connected to others.
So coffee isn't just good for our bodies. It's good for our souls, too. It's a facilitator of human connection, a way to slow down and appreciate the simple things in life.
I love that perspective. It really highlights how something as simple as a cup of coffee can enrich our lives in so many ways.
Okay, now I'm curious, what's your personal coffee ritual like? Do you have a favorite way to prepare and enjoy your coffee?
Well, I'm a creature of habit, I have to admit. My day always starts with a French press of freshly ground coffee, usually like a medium roast with nutty or chocolatey notes. And I like to take my time savoring it, really appreciating the aroma and flavor. It's my little moment of zen before the day gets going.
That sounds so lovely. I'm more of a pour-over person myself. I love the precision and control it gives me over the brewing process. It's almost meditative.
I can see that. There's something really satisfying about taking the time to craft the perfect cup of coffee.
Absolutely. And it's a reminder that even the smallest rituals can bring us joy and a sense of accomplishment. It's about finding those little things that make us feel good and incorporating them into our daily lives.
Exactly. So as we wrap up this part of our dip dive, I want you to think about your own coffee journey. How do you experience coffee in your life? Is it simply like a fuel source, a quick pick-me-up, or is it something more?
That's a great question for our listeners to ponder. And in our final part, we'll explore some of the things to consider when choosing your coffee. Because, as with any globally traded commodity, there's a whole story behind that cup of coffee we enjoy. Okay, so we've covered the health benefits, the best ways to brew, and even how coffee can boost our social lives.
You're right.
But now, let's shift gears a bit. Let's talk about the journey of coffee. From bean to cup.
Okay.
I'm ready to dive in. Where do we even begin?
Well, coffee is a globally traded commodity, so there are a lot of factors to consider.
Like what?
Things like, the impact on the environment, the lives of the people who grow and harvest the beans.
Right, yeah. It's easy to forget that there's a whole world behind that cup of coffee we enjoy.
Exactly. So let's start by talking about something you might have seen on, coffee packaging before.
Mm.
The term fair trade.
Oh, yeah. I've definitely seen that label. But I'll admit, I don't fully understand what it means.
So fair trade is all about ensuring that the farmers who grow the coffee beans are paid a fair price for their work.
Okay.
It means they can earn a living wage, support their families, which is, essential for creating a more just and sustainable coffee industry.
So when we choose fair trade coffee, we're directly supporting those farmers and their communities.
That's right. It's a way to vote with your dollar and make a positive impact with your coffee choices.
I like that. So what else should we be thinking about when it comes to choosing our coffee?
Well, sustainability is another big one. Coffee production can have a significant impact on the environment, from water usage to deforestation. So it's important to look for brands that prioritize sustainable practices.
Right. I've heard the term shade-grown coffee before. Is that related to sustainability?
Absolutely. Shade-grown coffee is cultivated under a canopy of trees, which mimics the natural forest ecosystem.
Right.
This helps preserve biodiversity, prevent soil erosion, and reduce the need for harmful chemicals.
That sounds like a win-win for both the environment and the coffee quality.
It really is. And, it's not just about protecting the environment.
What about us?
We also need to consider the impact on coffee growing communities themselves.
What do you mean by that?
Well, a lot of coffee growing communities around the world, they face challenges
Like what?
like poverty, lack of access to education, limited health care. So it's important to support brands that are investing in these communities and helping to improve their lives.
So by choosing our coffee carefully, we can actually make a difference in the lives of the people who grow it and the communities they live in.
Precisely. It's all about being conscious consumers and understanding that our choices have, a ripple effect across the globe.
Wow, this has been so eye-opening. I never realized how much thought and consideration goes into producing a single cup of coffee.
Yeah, it's a complex journey, but one that's worth, exploring and understanding.
Well, I think we've given our listeners a lot to think about today. From the surprising health benefits to the importance of ethical sourcing and sustainability, there's so much more to coffee than meets the eye.
I agree. It's been a pleasure, diving deep into the world of coffee with you.
And to our listeners, thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you've learned something new and that you'll approach your next cup of coffee with a newfound appreciation for all that goes into making it.
Cheers to that.